If this wasn't the week where 14 teams are heading to the playoffs, 6 other teams fire head coaches, 3 already had their coaches out, but it's been a lot of stuff going on that has obscured what was something that would have been the top story of the week in any other week of the season. Tyreek Hill refusing to play on Sunday. Tyreek Hill making it clear after the game that he wants out of Miami. That hasn't been as big of a deal as it would have been in November or October. But that's where we are. And Drew Rosenhaus, who represents Tyreek Hill, was on with Pat McAfee yesterday. Here is some of what Rosenhaus had to say about the current situation between Hill and the Dolphins.
Let's back up to training camp. Tyreek's scrimmaging with the Washington Commanders, and he breaks his wrist. We have top wrist doctors saying to Tyreek, you need to get this operated on, you're going to miss the season. Tyreek says to me and the Dolphins, I'm not going to miss the season. I'm going to play. I want to be here for my team. The doctors all said it's going to be painful. It could impact your entire career. If you don't get it done now, you may not be able to fix it all the way. Tyreek said, hey, the heck with it. I'm a team guy. I'm going for it. This hampered him all year long. He deserves a lot of credit. Tyreek is very passionate. Anyone I've ever represented that was great was passionate. They cared. What you see with Tyreek is very genuine. He wants to win. It's not good enough for him not to make the playoffs. He's very passionate.
He is passionate, and he also is committed to the Dolphins, according to Rosenhaus. Okay? But Rosenhaus also said this. Let me see if I can find it here. I had it, and now I don't have it. Do we have it? Here it is. That he's got to have a conversation with Tyreek. I'm not going to speak for him. We'll discuss that. That's going to be really something that we work out. I'm not going to say he does, he doesn't. That's a discussion I'm going to have with him that I haven't had yet. That's on the question of whether he wants to be traded. And this is 4 days after Hill said, I want out, and hasn't said anything otherwise since then. So we got a little flavor of how bad the injury was that he played with all year. Broken wrist that was hidden on the injury report for weeks. But, you know, Rodney, great player, but you got to deal with some stuff when Tyreek Hill's around. The Chiefs dealt with it until they didn't. And now the Dolphins have to decide, do we want to renew our vows with this guy or do we want to move on?
Yeah, they just redid his contract, too, gave him a lot of money. They've treated Tyreek Hill extremely well. They gave him everything that he wanted. They gave to him. He talked about Tua being the best quarterback, the most accurate quarterback. He has his chance to stay with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he's complaining. He wants out. And to me, you talk about being committed. If you're committed, you're not talking about right after the game, you're going to walk out. You're a veteran player. If you're a veteran player, you know a lot of times the game is emotional. Take some time, take a walk, take a deep breath before you go to the media and say some things that you don't really realize what you're saying. So to me, I look at Tyreek. He does so much talking. Just shut up and play, man. Put up those numbers. If your wrist is hurt, you can't be the player that you think you can be, go get it fixed. It's just, you know, it just comes to a point in time where these athletes, they're making all this money, $30 million. He's never happy. He's complaining. It's like, dude, just go play football. Nobody really cares. And if you're really committed to the Dolphins, commit to the Dolphins. Don't come into a post-game conference talking about you're out and all this other stuff. Because if I'm on a team, I'm going to him and say, leave. I don't want you here if you don't want to be here. If you're not committed to what we're trying to do in the process that we're trying to build this team, then leave, Tyreek. We will find another wide receiver. And that's what I think they should do. I wouldn't want him on my team.
It's a tough balance from my perspective. Okay, on one hand, the guy's got a broken wrist. Assuming that he really did have a broken wrist and not just embellishing it to try to put this fire out. He's got a broken wrist. He decides he's going to play through it. Good. Bravo. But that doesn't mean you have license to tap out whenever you want to tap out. Once you decide you're going to do it, you got to do it. You don't get to hold it over the team's head. You don't get to say, well, I'll play until we're mathematically eliminated or until I decide that we're done. You got to see it through. If you're going to do it, you got to see it through, or just don't do it. Get the surgery and get it fixed, and nobody would say anything about it. You got a broken wrist. It happened in practice. It's a fluke thing. It happens all the time. Guys miss the season. That's great. But you don't just get to play or not play on your own terms because you decided to try to play with the broken wrist. Anyway, we'll see what happens with it. The Dolphins clearly want to keep him. They tried to to put the toothpaste back in the tube when they had their end-of-season press conference. We'll see if they can make Tyreek Hill happy. We didn't know he wasn't happy in Kansas City until they traded him to the Dolphins. So who knows what's going to happen behind the scenes here, but we'll be keeping an eye on it throughout the early weeks of the 2025 offseason. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.